Hey guys, welcome to Ringsiders. We are joined by Tyson T-Bone. How you doing, man?
Not too bad, thank you. Yourselves?
Rocking and rolling, mate. As good as we can. As good as we can.
Glad to hear.
I noticed, Callum mentioned you in your garden. It looks. Whereabouts are you at the minute?
In a place called Malvern.
Right,
Malvern. Yeah, heard of it.
Yeah, that's where I live.
That's good, man. I avoid the sun.
Oh, yeah, it's just countryside where I live.
Nice. I wish I lived in the country, to be honest. I'd take that any day over Hull.
Yeah,
believe it or not.
Honestly. Yeah, I couldn't do what you're doing, mate. I avoid the sun at any cost. I can't be in the sun. I'm ginger. I melt. I can't. It doesn't like me, man.
Well, I understand. It didn't used to like me, and then I had grit and bear through it, and now all of a sudden I've just gone tanned all the time.
Oh,
well, it's part of being a wrestler is, you have to have the tan, don't you? I mean, if you don't fake tan, you're going to find the tan somewhere because it's just the nature of the business. So
yeah, it seems to be, unless you're Sheamus.
Yeah, that's it. He's the only exception.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true. That's true. But before we get into all that as well, I have to ask, because I love the old school, the history of wrestling, the British wrestling, American wrestling. I noticed you were trained by Robbie Brookside.
A bit, yeah.
Yeah. I know, yeah. I mean, what was that like? Because I always say to people, I think I find him incredibly underrated.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely. He's like his brain is just like a sponge of knowledge. I think he's absorbed everything for the last 30 years, and he still remembers everything he was taught on the first day to pass it down to everybody else. He's brilliant. I agree with what you said. Do you think he's underrated? Yeah.
I remember seeing Robbie on a show. I was only about 15. It was at Hull City Hall for All-Star. So, very family-friendly atmosphere. And I saw Robbie backstage. I didn't know who he was at the time. And I saw him wrestle and thought, this guy's amazing, but didn't think anything else of it. But looking back, he definitely had the best match on that card because it's Robbie Brookside. And I don't think I especially didn't realize at the time, he's like wrestling royalty in the UK. And as I've got older, I've really started to appreciate the body of work he's had in the past because he's been everywhere. And I don't think people realize that. So did learning from Robbie early on in your career, help you become the wrestler you are now?
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of gone full circle. Like Robbie was there at the beginning and he's there again now.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's great. Having him there now and seeing how he's grown as a coach as well from where we were then to now that's just completely different too. But still you have the same dad like Robbie who puts his arm around, says, come on, lad, it's going to be okay. But then at the same time, you'll do something tiny bit stupid and then he's there and he's on you and that dragon that's inside him comes out and bites your head off. Okay, there's Robbie.
To be fair, man, the minute Callum mentioned All-Star, I honestly thought he was going to try and get a Brian Dixon impression out of you because he tries that with everybody.
Okay, right. This is right. Every single person who's even heard of Brian Dixon, they've got to either give us an impression of Brian or a story of Brian. Can you do either of those?
I don't think the stories are ever allowed to be told, are they?
We've had a few, but
really?
Can you do an impression, maybe? Yeah.
No.
The best thing anybody does, even if they're American and they've worked with Brian, the first thing they'll do is every single time. I love it.
The hand.
Yeah.
Bless him.
I knew it was after that. I had to say.
I'd forgotten, Jamie. I'm glad you reminded me because never fails to make my day.
No, man, we've had a few do the impression. We had we know Nathan Cruz, and Nathan actually we had Nathan in the house once, didn't we? And Nathan, if you closed your eyes, we thought Brian was there. It was just insane.
He's the best one we've ever had. I think Nathan's can't be beaten.
Spitty. I'd say.
Actually, even Nathan says that. Yeah.
The extent that even on the phone once, I was 100% convinced it was Brian.
Really?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Oh man, yeah, it was literally like he was in the room. I think Nathan, the closest to Nathan was when we spoke to Mark Haskins. The only one that refused to do it was Dean Allmark. Yeah, yeah, he wouldn't do it.
Allmark, he said, "Oh, I can't do it. I'm too shy." But I think he's just too nice to do the impression. Really, you know.
Yeah. He's got a lot more to lose than some of us.
Yeah, that's it. He's Mr. All-Star Wrestling, so he can't do it.
Yeah.
Of course. I mean, if it were me as well, I mean, when I was first introduced to you was PCW in Preston. And the first time I saw you was you and Rampage against the Dudley Boys, defending the tag titles. Obviously, before I mentioned the Dudleys, I mean, what was it like teaming with Rampage? Because you hear from everybody just how good he is.
The best. I tell him today, I wish it's the one thing that I keep literally putting forward to creative. I don't mean this nasty to the thing that I'm in now, but I continually have put it forward for the last 4 years of being at NXT. Please tag me with Rampage. Please tag me with Rampage.
Yeah.
And I say to him all the time, I don't think he understands just how good he is. And it was like 5 years I was tagging with him. And in that 5 years, how much he helped me develop as a wrestler, as a person. Me, he isn't just someone who you see as a wrestling friend. He's someone you see as a friend and a role model. And so many people could learn life, not just wrestling, from him.
Yeah, I completely get that. There's so many people we speak to if Rampage comes up, they're just saying he's not only one of the best minds for wrestling, he's just got such a great mind for life, basically.
Yeah. It's weird. Like, I always found tagging with him, and Ashton has told me the same, that it was like tagging with your shadow. You knew exactly what the whole time. You never had to look. You never had to think. You just knew. And it's a weird sensation to have that with someone. I've never had it with anybody else. It's just
a legitimate tag team. That's what a tag team should be in wrestling.
Yeah. I mean, was it longest reigning tag champs as well at PCW? Am I right? Or
yeah,
you'd help them,
years or something like that.
Yes, I remember that match. It was the first time I'd been to PCW as well. I was like, you two came out. I was like, I would not fuck with these two. It was like, literally, I was like, oh my god, you know. And then obviously, I mean, what was it like as well? Obviously facing the Dudleys. I mean, Hall of Famers.
I actually spoke about that match yesterday, and how that's one of the matches that I remember being stood in the ring with Rampage, and then their music hit, and vibration of a crowd, even though Evoke's not the biggest of places. So imagine it, a WrestleMania type thing. I would not know how to feel for that, but I stood there and I remember we both just looked at each other and just went, this is actually kind of something special, just for the noise that the crowd had made from it and the vibration that came from the crowd through the floor, through the ring. And we just stood there thinking, shit.
I mean, you got to wrestle some great talents in your time at PCW as well, though, didn't you? I mean, you said it was the longest reigning tag team champions. I believe it was 4 years, which is incredible for a start. But the people you got to not only wrestle but defeat in that tag team title reign, you had, like Jamie said, the Dudley Boys. There was Brian Kendrick and Paul London.
They were the best.
That must have been awesome too.
Brian Kendrick Paul London's great, but Brian Kendrick is different level.
Yeah.
Different level of unreal. Like, he's so calm, collected. Nothing seems to faze him. He's just, he really is the love child of Shawn Michaels and Regal put together, and has produced that. It's fantastic.
Yeah, he's again another guy who I always thought he should have been a main eventer in WWE. There was that moment where he became the interim WWE champion at Armageddon in that scramble match. And I marked the hell out thinking Brian Kendrick's going to win the WWE championship. I think I was the only person at the time who wouldn't have been disappointed if he did.
But, no. Yeah.
He should have been the champion. He's so good. So that must have been so cool getting to wrestle someone as intelligent for the business as Brian Kendrick.
Yeah, definitely. He's someone who now, or up until pandemic hit, he was someone who I was lucky enough that NXT were bringing over here to help with the training and producing and stuff. So again, it was like full circle of we get to pick his brain all over again. An opportunity that you think is only going to happen once suddenly became the normal.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Yeah, I just remember I think they were at that PCW show, weren't they, with the Dudleys? Because I met them at the end, and somehow, don't ask me how, Paul London ended up on my mobile phone talking to my mum. I don't know how that happened, but to this, yeah,
that's like just a normal story for Paul London.
It was bizarre. It was bizarre. Like I think she rung me because I was living there at the time, and she'd rung me while I was at the show. And next minute I knew my phone was in Paul London's hand, and he was talking to my mum. I was like, "Oh, right,
that's amazing." That's amazing.
it was surreal. It was surreal. It really was. But yeah, I mean, like I said, PCW is where I think I fell back in love with British wrestling when I started going back to shows, and that was the first show back for me. And obviously you held the world title there. I have to ask. I mean, God bless his soul, he's no longer with us. But I mean, you worked with Lionheart. I mean, he's another guy who I think was just on a whole nother level.
Yeah. Again, I was actually talking to Madman Manson about a match with him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was like, "How many times did you wrestle Adrian?" And I was like, "Oh, there's a few." I said there was one where I remember it was like he'd not long come back after his neck surgery, and everyone was being so careful with him. And I just said to him, "I'm working your neck," and he just looked at me as if to say, "Oh." Literally the whole match. And then afterwards, like, if he was here, he'd agree, but me and him didn't get on at all until that happened. And then after that, it was like, yeah, bless him. He became
he's a great guy. Yeah, he's one of those guys that when he came out, I was just drawn to him. He commanded the crowd when I was there. He was just so good.
Yeah. Another guy as well. I mean, I'm not meaning to say on a somber note, but Mole mentioned it. Another guy who, bless his soul, Chris Travis. You did actually get to wrestle Chris Travis and defend the title against him too. And Travis, you know, what a guy, right? And I thought I'd be remiss to mention just how loved he was in British wrestling as well, because he was such a big part of PCW at that time, you know. And you really have wrestled some of the greats of British wrestling at PCW when you think about it. Like, not only just the tag teams, but in your own heavyweight championship defenses, you went up against some of the best that the UK has to offer, and really cemented your legacy to me, and I'm sure to Jamie, in British wrestling. And another guy, Joey Hayes, when I was looking at your match histories and stuff, you've mixed it up with Joey many times. And Joey Hayes is somebody I think should be in NXT UK right now. I feel like he's been ready. He's been ready for the last 10 years for a major company.
I promise you this, please phone Joey now and ask him what I've been asking him to do for the last 4 years, and say to him, whatever it is, just do it.
Yeah. You know what? I actually might, because I'll at least message him about it, because he once pitched an idea to me that me and him should be a brother tag team, because at the time we both had long, stupid hair. And he was like, me and you will be a brother tag team. We'll absolutely clean up. And I was like, yeah, Joey, great idea. That would mean me becoming a good wrestler first. But you go do your thing. And from that point, I've always thought Joey, for whatever reason, I don't know why, is always been at the top of British wrestling, one of the best, but hasn't ever been picked up. Can you ever see that happening for Joey?
I think Joey needs to want it to happen.
Right.
And I think if he wanted it to happen, it would have happened yesterday.
Yeah.
There's not many people who I'd say they would just take straight away, but I think Joey is someone who, if Joey was to literally just say, hello, I think they would go, oh, finally, you're here.
That's gutting to know, but also great at the same time. I really do hope it happens for him, because I feel like, if he did, NXT UK would have the best of the British wrestling from the last 5 to 10 years. There'd be yourself, there'd be Rampage, there'd be Joey. The people who really kept British wrestling going during, like, the boom period came and it was great, but there was those people, the foundation of British wrestling, who kept it alive for so long. And I'm talking, you know who the people are. They were there when British wrestling wasn't booming, and now it is booming. I just feel like everybody who kept it alive should get their chance. and Joey's one of them, yourself included, and Rampage. So it's great to see you and Rampage doing well. I just hope there was a couple of others that could join you there as well.
Yeah, definitely. I feel the same.
So obviously that WWE, you know, when you got the call, you signed for NXT UK. I mean, what was that like for you? I mean, was that, I'm presuming that was always the goal when you started your career at WWE?
No.
No, okay.
No, I didn't really like. Everyone finds it weird that I'm probably one of only a few people that was never really a fan of wrestling before I got into it.
Right.
And then when I got into it, I realized this is good. I like this. And then kind of fell in love with it from there. Yeah. And then initially it was like, let's see where it initially goes. And it wasn't until a couple of years into it that I suddenly thought, okay, this is actually something that really could become a thing.
Yeah.
Maybe WWE could be on the cards. And then through going to Robbie's, it suddenly became like, oh, maybe that little bit more. And then there was a few other things that happened that were like, oh, yeah, maybe it really could be something. It just took a long time in the end to get there. But yeah, when the call came in, I was like chuffed, to say the least. It was weird. It was like
you definitely loved wrestling then. Eventually, like once you got into it.
Oh yeah, I'd say now I'm not just in love with it. I'm married to it.
Yeah.
Which in some ways is horrible because, like in every relationship, I'm sure there's arguments and there's times where you hate it, but there's also that even when you know, maybe at times you think, maybe I should look at something else or something like that, because you have that significant attachment to it, you can't, and you literally try and switch something around again to try something different or do things for yourself to try and make it better for this or sacrifice things to make that better again. And yeah.
I mean, how's it been as well? Obviously, you've got the Performance Centre in London now. Obviously, you mentioned Robbie Brookside. You've had Brian Kendrick come over. Am I right? I think Shawn Michaels is quite hands-on with NXT UK as well.
Yeah, it's almost like he's in charge of it. So when we do TVs now, Shawn oversees everything. He's like our final boss of combat or something like that.
That must be surreal, that, you know, having Shawn Michaels as the guy overseeing the TV show you're on. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's like, it's weird. You have that first, like you just had that little moment there where it's like the big smile and all that sort of stuff. And then all of a sudden you have that moment of the reality of, oh man, this is actually Shawn Michaels watching my matches. I bet he thinks I am crap. Wow. And you've got the best ever and he's watching us and it's like, oh, come on, man.
No pressure.
Yeah, exactly.
It must be surreal though, as well, like you said. You said Shawn Michaels is there watching your matches. What's it been like as well? Obviously, having the PC over here now as well. How invaluable has that been for you?
It's great. Before pandemic hit, we were having all sorts come over. But still now, since that's hit, and we've been doing the training weeks, we've still had Johnny Moss and James Mason as like our main coaches, and the wealth of their knowledge. I think for Mossy especially, for where he spent all that time over there being trained up by the likes of Coach Bloom and Regal and Shawn, to get him to that different level again from where he already was. So when we're going in now and then Mossy's on you've gone from, hang on, I'm the same age as you, Mossy, and you're my mate for a million times, to now you're kind of like in charge, technically the older generation of us, because you're the coach now, which feels a little surreal. But then you see just how his brain has changed from being independent madman Johnny Moss to I understand the WWE formula Johnny Moss.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great.
I guess that's it as well. I mean, obviously, you'll have had to adjust and learn. You've been taught the WWE style, I'm guessing, then as well?
Yeah, to an extent. For me, it's been different for the last 4 years as such. With the character they had me doing was very limited role as such, with limited respects of move sets and stuff like that, and where I was going with things, and primarily just punch kick. Whereas now with again, something that started to change again now, where I'm allowed to do a bit more. So I'm in a position now where I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens next. But yeah, it is good being there. Really good. Sometimes pinch yourself, and just to don't ever take it for granted. There's a reality pinch. Don't take it for granted.
And you have worked hard for this, though. Like I said, there might be people who are new to you on NXT UK, but you have worked incredibly hard to get to where you are now. So it must be very rewarding to be wrestling for NXT UK now.
Yeah, it is. It's it's something that I genuinely, at the time of getting signed, I didn't think would happen. I thought it's passed me by now. We've hit that boom. There's the new generations come in. They're doing much more flashy and fancy stuff to what I physically do. Maybe my sell by date had come to here, and then when they still said they wanted to, it was like, okay, cool. Let's try and make something of this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, don't you deserve to be there, man? Like I said, I've been a T-Bone mark since that day at Preston City Wrestling, man. So I love seeing you there, man. But I have to ask you about one guy as well, who you've been quite familiar with in NXT UK, Saxon Huxley. I mean,
the man.
I love him.
If he is not NXT UK champion within 2 years, then there's a problem.
Wow.
There's a problem in creative. I think he is someone, to me, I feel more than anybody has benefited so much from what we get taught. Because I feel like he came in at the right time for him to have his brain really looked into to make it better for wrestling, whereas they would say the likes of me and Rampage, where we'd already got staleness in our heads, so we were like a bit more stubborn to learn that way again. It was almost like, oh man, I know this, but I don't know it that way, so I've got to go back. Whereas Saxon, bless him, was almost like not a blank canvas at all by any means, because he was still a great guy, but he was much more acceptable to all this new information. And how he wrestles now compared to how he was 4 years ago when he signed, I think he's a completely different person.
Yeah,
I absolutely watching him now, even when we're just having training matches and stuff like that. I just think this guy needs to get a monster push, and soon, because he's class. He's class.
He's got a hell of a look, hasn't he? He's got the look of a world champion.
Yeah, I think so. I think he'd make a real good villain champion, and the energy he puts into his matches now, like how the guy is not exhausted after every single match, because he doesn't. The noises he just makes and the depth of volume that comes from him, I get exhausted just trying to do the noises, let alone the wrestling part of it. Well, and I'm just like, Jesus, man, come on. But to me, he's the future champion.
All right.
I think there's two people I'm 100% sure. Yeah, like you said, Saxon, absolutely. And Nathan Frazier as well, to me, seem like surefire NXT UK champions at some point.
Yeah, I think Nathan Fraser at the moment would be more like a cruiserweight Heritage Cup sort of that direction for now. But then at the same time, God knows, I'm not in charge of creative, but I don't know. I think it would be a shame if nothing happened with Saxon. I think Saxon is someone
needs to happen.
Yeah, definitely. I can definitely see him sat at the top of the company. I think it'd be great.
And I'm guessing not just NXT UK. Can you see him going the distance as well if he got called to America?
Yeah, I just think the only trouble would be if he went to America right now, would be people casting similarities to Brody.
Yeah, I see that, yeah.
Fair enough, yeah.
Riley's here at the moment, and he's, as much as he has Brody-esque things, he is developing himself. And I think if they leave him here long enough to project himself as a champion here, that he should be able to increase his stock enough to be someone completely different by the time they did take him to the States. Yes, I could see him in the States, but I'd like to think that would be in 4 or 5 years after.
Yeah. Let him find himself completely first before sending him over.
Yeah,
I get you.
And obviously, before we start to wrap up as well, I mean, what's the goals for yourself? I mean, obviously, you mentioned earlier you want to team back with Rampage. I mean, the tag titles a goal, or is the main prize a goal? I mean, I'd like to see you and Walter tear it up, man. It'd be insane.
Oh God, that would be amazing.
that happened once upon a time at Progress. It was good. It was hard.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, the goals for me. Right now, I just want to enjoy it.
Yeah, man.
I'm not someone who's ever really thought of himself as, I need a championship. I need this to cement anything anywhere. I'm not really that minded. I just, as long as I'm enjoying it, then that's my main goal. I just want to keep enjoying it. I don't want to get to a place where if I end up somewhere where I'm really not happy with wrestling, then that would probably mentally harm me more than anything else.
And you're enjoying it right now then? That's the main, and you're enjoying it right now. That's the main thing.
Yeah. Like I say, they've just changed the direction of where I'm going. I don't know what's happening with it or where it actually goes. And that kind of makes me a bit happier because it actually feels like, okay, there's something that's going to happen. So,
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, man. But before we let you go then as well, obviously you mentioned him, so I've got to ask you because I ask people this all the time. What are them Walter chops like? Because I've been in the building and it sounds like a shotgun going off.
Yeah. So I'm a daft twat, basically. With the day I wrestled him, I messaged Ollie Rampage and just said, mate, is there anything I need to look out for? And he just went, just don't get in a chop off with him. And I was like, cool. Next thing I know is we're trading chops with each other. And I was just thinking, this is why. God damn it. But I will say, as hard as his chops are, they're not Johnny Moss's chops.
All right, okay.
Okay.
Johnny's don't make a gunshot noise. I don't know what he does, but he hits you in a way where you think, oh, that wasn't too bad. And then suddenly your heart rips through your spine and then comes back. And he hit me with 3 or 4 of them, and every single one made my knees rattle together. And I was just like, how are they getting so bad? Because they're not leaving any marks. They're not even stinging. Wow. I just feel like thighs have exploded.
So it's like just a clean cut maybe to your chest, you know?
Just whack.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Wow. Okay. We've asked the chop question a few times and always get varying answers. Like Ilya Dragunov has the worst ones, or Walter. Oh. First time we've heard Johnny Moss, so that's good to know.
Yeah, I don't recommend one of him.
Right. Noted. Okay. I'm not in any rush to either. So.
You won't have just be broken internally.
Yeah, I'm only a very slender man. I feel like I'd break in half, so I'll miss that one out.
Yeah, I think you would. And I've just realised I've caught the sun. I look like a garden gnome at the moment. I've just realised that. Right? I look terrible. Right? But yeah, man, obviously it's been an absolute pleasure, man. On a personal level, I've been a massive fan of yours since that first time I saw you. So for me, thank you so much for giving us your time as well.
Thank you for asking me. Thank you.
Anytime, man. But before you go, do you want to let everyone know where they can find you, your social medias?
Instagram would probably be the best place because I'm rubbish on it. Well, I'm rubbish on social media. I absolutely hate it. Tyson_T_Bone. It's the same on Twitter. I don't have Facebook anymore. Slowly but surely they are going.
Yes.
We'll get rid of it.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
Well, Jamie deleted his Facebook. I've deleted mine. You don't have Facebook. 100% of people in this conversation don't have Facebook. Yeah. I like that trend. That's how it should be.
Yeah.
Keep it going.
Yeah. I know as soon as I'm out of wrestling, I think Instagram and Twitter will be gone straight away as well.
Good man. Good man.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. That's perfect. But dude, honestly, I can't thank you enough. I know Callum feels the same. You are literally one of our favourites. So it's been an absolute pleasure, man. So thank you so much, Tyson T-Bone.
Thank you.